Welcome on into the Stroke Limit Reached podcast. I am your host, Nick, here with my co-host, Mike.
How's it going, y'all? Today we got a special episode. We're going to be having our first guest speaker. You've heard me talk about him before, diehard OKC Thunder fan, and that's probably the only respectable thing I can say about his teams. Matt, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
What it do? I am Matt. I will be giving my 2 cents on some basketball.
Sounds good. So we've got a pretty good episode for you guys today. We're going to start off with the NHL playoffs, talk about the second round update, then into the PGA Tour, talk about some of the storylines heading into the designated event, which is the Wells Fargo Championship. We'll then turn it over to the NBA playoffs where Mike and Matt will talk about the second round update there. And then we're a bunch of psychopaths here, so we will be talking about our favorite games we're excited for in college football this season. I know it's May, but hey, why not? And then we'll finish it off with our best bets, like we always do. Right now, Mike and I are in the red, so let's see if we can claw our way out. All right, so straight into the NHL playoffs. I think it's going to be an interesting one here. I know at the time I was big on the Florida Panthers. They lost last night on Monday night as we are recording this on Tuesday. So the Florida Panthers are down 0-1 to Boston. Both goalies in that game played great. Bruins dominated with the offensive pressure, though. On the flip side, the Panthers goalie, Bobrovsky, kept Florida in the game. The final score was 5-1. You had one trash goal on an open net. However, it could have easily been 7-1. There were so many great saves by the Panthers. So hats off to Bobrovsky. They just need to close the lanes, get in the passing lanes, and stop giving Boston so many open looks. So that's the key to success for them there. And on the flip side, when the Panthers were on offense, way too many defensive turnovers that led to fast breaks that came probably 2 out of their 5 points. So they've got to clean that up. I'm still heavy on the Panthers, though. I do think they can turn it around, even though they lost the first game at home, which does suck. So a must-win coming up on Wednesday, but they're still my pick for the Stanley Cup, Mike.
Honestly, I agree. I don't know about the Stanley Cup, but in general for the series, I do still like the Panthers. We've seen how fast-paced and how good that offense can be. They could have just had one bad night, and it's not the time yet to start overreacting about that one loss.
Yeah, one of the things that worried me, if you're a Panthers fan, is even though they had some open looks, Boston was sinking a lot of mid-range shots, a lot of bar downs from the top. So it is scary to know that they were clicking on that game and shooting from a pretty deep range, some slap shots to go in there over the goalie's shoulders. But again, Bobrovsky is a dog, so he'll get that together, and you just can't allow them to have so many open nets. Obviously, they're going to score even if you've got a possible MVP goalie. Other than that, the Rangers start off 1-0 against Carolina. I like the Rangers in this series. I do think Carolina will fall to the Rangers ultimately in this series. I expect the Rangers to go out here and win Game 2 tonight, get 2-0 up, and I just think at that point, having the advantage starting at home and getting up 2-0 is going to be hard for Carolina to claw out of. They struggled against the Islanders. I believe they had to win it in 6.
It was, I believe 6. I believe they were able to stop the Game 7.
Yep, so I just think that the Rangers are clicking on all cylinders. Carolina came in a little slow, so we'll see what happens there. Vancouver and the Oilers. Vancouver, I want to give them a chance here, but ultimately the Oilers did do great, swept their opponent, moved on. Vancouver struggled against Nashville, who threw away at least 1 to 2 games. They had one game where they were up by 2, kind of an Islander situation, up by 2 with 2 minutes to go. They allowed them to score 2 goals, get to overtime, and they win. So I just think Vancouver had to do a lot to get out of that series. I like the Oilers there. I'm sure you do too, Mike. Yeah. Then Dallas and Colorado, kind of an interesting one because we wrote Dallas off one of our first episodes, being down 2-0, and they showed a lot of resilience, and they showed that number 1 seed and why they deserve it. They clawed back and won 3 straight to get up 3-2 before they lost one, and then ultimately won in Game 7.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. I couldn't remember if that went to 7 or if they ended up winning 4 straight after losing the first 2 at home.
And it was honestly a wild series. I mean, they played the Vegas Knights, who barely got in as a wild card, and they're the defending Stanley Cup champs. And then that series, the first 4 games, no team won a game at home, which was pretty crazy. But the fact that they were down 2-0, they go on the road, they win 2, they come back, they win 1 to take the series lead, shows me that they've got a lot of fight, and I actually like them to move on and be in the Western Conference Final. I think it was kind of a wake-up call for them.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm really interested to see. If I had to guess right now, believe it or not, I'm taking the Oilers Western Conference Final to make the Stanley Cup, and I would take the Panthers to make it to the Stanley Cup from the Eastern Conference Final. I hope I don't eat those words, and I hope they don't lose tomorrow night. But it also is hard for me to root for the Panthers, given that I'm a Lightning fan. So, but exciting series, and we'll see what happens. Into the PGA, interesting week this week. We've got 2 golf tournaments. We have the designated event, which is the Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow. They play at Quail Hollow every year, whether it is for the Wells Fargo or if it's held major championships in the past. Big news is the only way I think that the field can beat Scotty Scheffler if he doesn't play. And breaking news as of this morning is Scotty Scheffler will sit out as he's expecting his kid. So that is huge news for the field, which vaults Rory McIlroy up into that favorite position. I know Mike thinks he chokes a lot.
Fraud.
But I do think it's a golf course that plays well for him. This golf course is adjusted, one of the longest courses on the PGA Tour, plays 7,500 yards. So I do like Rory this week. Another breaking news, Ludwig Oberg, who you could say was one of the other favorites coming in. He's playing really hot. I know you're high on him, Mike. He is out this week for a knee injury. I kind of think this might just be his trainers and his doctor telling him to sit out, rest it, so you're good for the PGA Championship the following week. But ultimately, we will see in 2 weeks when he plays at Valhalla. The defending champion for this tournament is Wyndham Clark. This is a Wyndham Clark type golf course. He has been playing great. Personally, I would take his performance at the Masters and throw it out the window. He didn't play well there, but again, at the Masters, historically, first-time players do not do well. I think the only 2 players who did well that I can remember in recent history was Jordan Spieth and Tiger Woods. Potential winners for this golf tournament, again, I like Rory, Mike. I like Rory a lot. Right now, he's sitting at plus 425. I would not bet on that because given he does choke, and especially on Sundays. But this golf course sets up perfect for him, being a longer golf course and requiring driving accuracy.
Yeah, I mean, for that one, I couldn't disagree with you more. Besides Rory McIlroy, the only golfer I think is more fraudulent is Jordan Spieth. I don't know how that dude is still a professional golfer. Rory McIlroy.
Okay. First off, you're talking about a guy who's won like 12 golf tournaments and 3 majors.
How long ago was that?
I mean, he's won one, I believe, last year. Or got second last year.
Did everyone
at
else
RBC.
call out of that tournament? But when it comes to this season, I mean, Rory, I think top 20 is probably maybe a safe. Like, it's 50-50 on if he even makes a cut. Jordan Spieth, I don't even know if he's in this tournament, but count on, if you can bet on someone to miss the cut, put your money on that. I do like Wyndham Clark, though. I think returning champion, he's a good golfer, and like you said, with the Masters, it's tough when you're a first-time player there. It's a different level of golf.
Yeah, and just to go to your point, this is a signature event. There's 69 players. There will be no cut. So
I just don't know what I'm talking
no matter
about.
what. But
We'll find a way.
anyway, I know at our work we have the one and done. I kind of went against the grain with my pick. Longer golf course, you wouldn't think this, but I was like, okay, driving accuracy, great at hitting greens in regulation. I took Colin Morikawa, who played hot in the Masters. So that was my pick this week. Who did you pick?
I haven't made the pick yet. Probably going to look more into it tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be leaning on Wyndham Clark.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick here. I'm not a big fan of the people who are like, oh, he won last year. You can't win 2-2. or back-to-back, rather.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to see who I even have available in that. I like Colin, but I already used him, I think, last tournament, the one after the Masters.
Okay, so, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick either way, but if I had to pick somebody, I'm picking Rory. But so, NBA playoffs recap. This might not be as great as last time because LeBron James is eliminated, so you won't hear Mike just shit on him for 30 minutes.
Thank God.
Bomb.
Take it over, Mike.
All right, so Matt, obviously you're OKC Thunder fan. Go ahead and tell us how that series went against Pelicans.
Not how everyone expected outside of OKC, but it went just how a 1 versus 8 seed series should have went. They absolutely swept the floor with them. Now, Zion being hurt obviously mattered. That damn play-in, man.
Yeah, I know me and you talked a lot on off the podcast about the play-in games, and I mean Jimmy Butler, Zion. I think there was another key injury. That's one was missing from the play-ins.
Just a bummer. It took 2 fantastic players out of the playoffs for teams that should have been in the playoffs anyways. 2 8 seeds. They did what they had to do in the regular season.
Yeah, and I believe it was a 4-0 sweep for the Thunder. I think every game was pretty dominantly favored for the Thunder, except for game 1. I think was pretty competitive. I mean, warm-up game going into the playoffs.
Yeah, after game 1, everyone. I mean, it looked like it was going to be a close series. I mean, everyone was calling it a 6-game series. At that point, but they, I think they proved a lot with sweeping them. I think it means a lot for a team that's young because that's what everyone's saying is they don't have the experience. Well, a team that doesn't have the experience, they would have dropped one of those games. Game 4, in their home, it's hard to win an elimination game on the road. And they, the Pelicans were up 5 with 3 or 4 minutes left. They did what they had to do. Josh Giddey took over very unexpectedly, and
yeah, because I believe he flopped in the first 3 games. He wasn't really doing the role that we thought he was going to have.
Yeah, well, he destroyed the Pelicans deployed a different defensive strategy than they had in the regular season. They've been putting Jonas on him, so that way he can stay off of him from the 3-point line and just help everyone with Shea. But they didn't do that at all. So Josh was kind of, took him for surprise the first couple games. But he didn't have the points in the 3rd game, but he was great. I mean, he played his role. He's always good in the Pelican Stadium for some reason. He's fantastic.
Yeah, the Giddler's definitely going to have to keep performing in the next round, too, which is going against the Dallas Mavericks, correct?
Yes. I actually think that he could – Giddey could be I think he can turn the series. If he has a good game against them or a good series, he can totally change the series by attacking their bigs. Because just like with the Pelicans, a lot of people tried it with Josh in the regular season. You would cross match. You put your center on Josh because he was a non-factor from the 3-point line, and you just have him help out in the paint with Shea and J-Dub. So if they do that and he can just attack them with the floater game, I think he'll do a lot for us. I think that would completely swing the series.
Yeah,
we'll probably try to hide Luka on him, honestly. Sorry.
You're good. Shea and J-Dub and even Lou Dort and the rest of the cast, I know they were performing. Chet was absolutely balling. So what do you think the outlook is in general for the Maverick series?
Well, actually, it's funny because I think Shea had, relative for him, I think he had a bad series. But for, 2 guys, for Chet and Dub that you mentioned, 2 guys that have no playoff experience, they were fantastic. They were Dub hit, all of it. Dub is Jalen Williams for people who who aren't Thunder fans. There's 2 Jalen Williamses. J-Dub is the starter, the wing, and then J-Will is the backup center. Just if anyone would ever be confused about that. Thunder aren't on TV that much. Thought I would establish that. But what was your question again?
So what do you think the outlook's going to be? Like, what are some key factors that are going to be needed in the Dallas Mavericks series, and how do you think that series is going to go in general?
I go both ways with it. I mean, I think I think we're going to beat them in 6. I mean, if we have a good series, I think it's 5. But they don't have the point of attack defense, the perimeter defense, to really mess with Shea or Dub. Like, if you watch that Clippers series, James Harden pulled a James Harden and disappeared. But, like, man, when he was on, that they had no answer for him on the perimeter. He would just get past him, get to it.
James Harden had 30 points each, like absolutely doing whatever he wanted to do in those first couple games.
The 2 games they won, he went off.
Okay,
but that's true. He pulled his disappearing axe. But I mean, Luka's got his size, but they're good. Shea and Dub are going to cook him consistently, in my opinion. Their best defender is Derrick Jones, and I mean Derrick Jones Jr. And I mean, Shea had destroyed him in the regular season, so they're going to have to switch. And with this Thunder team, if they can basically just pick their matchup, in a half-court setting, they're going to cook them. Shea's just going to get exactly who they want on him, because that's why the Pelicans gave him a pretty hard time, because you could just deploy Herb Jones on him, and I mean Herb Jones is one of the best point of attack defenders in the league. I mean, he gave him a hell of a time, but the rest of the team killed him, so they had to go out of that, and then that's when Shea just does what he wants, just picks his opponent and tears him up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do now, because I know a lot of people were kind of trashing on the Thunder because, I mean, yeah, they just beat up on the Zion-less Pelicans, so now it'll be their first real quote-unquote challenge to see how everyone performs, how everyone steps up, and like you said, very young crew that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience.
Yeah. As a Thunder fan, I am pumped about it, because like I was telling you, like the other night when we were talking off the mic, it feels like forever since we have had a actual serious game against a real opponent. Like, the end of our regular season was very weak. We played a bunch of the Blazers, Spurs, Jazz, teams like that, all the bottom feeders. And then, in the playoffs, we got probably the worst team in the playoffs in the first round. Now, that's what you get for being the 1 seed. That's a plus to it. We got a lot of rest now. Haven't played since last Monday, but I'm pumped about it. It feels like an actual tough opponent, someone worthy of it. I think it's a good test for them. It's hard to tell with them just always beating up these lesser opponents. It's nice that we're going to get to see. We're going to, like with the T-Wolves, like they are balling right now against they are making their appearance felt in the playoffs. It's insane.
Yeah, so
I'm hoping we get the same thing with the Thunder tonight.
I agree, because I mean, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, but I've definitely adopted the Oklahoma City Thunder this year. A lot of it is through hearing your propaganda throughout the last couple of years, and it's a team that I've always kind of respected. I don't like Kevin Durant, so him leaving the team back in 2016, I believe, actually helped me kind of bond more with them. And I mean, the GM was Sam Presti. He's just absolute genius of a GM.
Mike, I got to cut in real quick because I just want you to tell the fan base. I don't think they know yet, but tell them how fucked up your team selection is. Teams that you like here, they're all over America.
Okay. So I live in Ohio. I live in Northwest Ohio, and I am currently watching my baseball team, the Baltimore Orioles, on the bottom screen right now in my living room.
Recently adopted Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, very recent. I was always a hater of baseball, and I have just now started getting into it this year. And I promise, I did not know that they were this good. I promise. I literally just picked the team. But my football team, born and raised a Pittsburgh Steeler.
The
Go
most mid
Steelers.
team in the history of the NFL.
Stairway to 7 this year.
I just can't
Trying to get it
wait. I
done.
just can't wait for the NFL. We get to bring you on, and you guys are going to go at each other. It's just going to be great.
Oh, it's a nightly occurrence when we
yeah.
talk.
Our personalities will come out when we bring up the Steelers or when we bring up football in general.
Bums.
He agrees with
We
me
need
on most of
to,
basketball.
when we get closer, we need to do some type of bet on the air. Tell the people, whether it's an over-under on games won, that you guys can pick opposite sides and put some kind of bet together.
Well, we know the
I would
Steelers are
love-
going to end up
I
around
would love-
500.
I would love to do a Najee Harris bet with Mike on here.
One of the worst fucking cones of fucking running backs in the NFL.
Exactly. Such a dramatic response.
Mike, tell us who your teams are.
Born and raised out here in Florida. So the only teams in Florida that
I like how you started. Hold on. First off, I like how you tried to start like you're some kind of sane person. Born and raised in Florida. I'm a Miami fan. Oh, by the way, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. Oh,
Yeah,
but then I'm
so-
a Giants fan.
Yeah, so I adopted the Hurricanes when I was in high school. Always hated the Gators, always hated the Seminoles, so it just seemed rational, and it's been a lot of pain since. Mom grew up in Chicago, so I ended up adopting the Bulls when I was younger, but basketball's always been my secondary sport. A lot of pain and depression over there. When I was a little kid, I adopted the New York Giants when I was probably in like third grade. Saw 2 Super Bowl wins. Too young to kind of enjoy it. Since then, absolute depression. And then recently, I guess, hockey and baseball, I adopted Tampa Bay because they're sports I don't know too much about and kind of the home team nearby.
The
But,
last two are respectable, at least. So.
yeah, just a lot of pain and depression.
All right.
I didn't get to say that my best one. I'm also a Buckeye.
World-class
think
second
I can say that
placers.
one.
Jeez. I didn't mean to swear to you guys. So go on to your next series, Mike.
Yeah, so let's move over to the Timberwolves Nuggets. So the Nuggets ended up sweeping the Lakers in 4 because, you know, the Lakers are a fraudulent organization. And Timberwolves, remind me on that, I can't think of who they played.
They beat down the Suns.
That is right. They swept the Suns, and that's right. We had a whole discussion about how they're about to dismantle the entire organization. Because you can't pay 4 fucking primary ball dominant scorers and expect to win games.
It's actually crazy because their owner at like their press conference after the season was basically like, "Oh yeah, it's not on fire over here. Like we're fine. Like we got 3 of the best players in the league. Like we're going to be totally fine."
Yeah, and
Like
speaking
he
of
was
that,
not worried. He was not worried at all. So
speaking of that, I know we were talking about it the other day offline, Mike, but that's why I love Charles Barkley piece when he's talking about all of media saying they need to fire get rid of the coaches, for the Lakers and for the Suns. And Charles Barkley came out there and was like, "No, it's because your players suck."
Yeah. I mean, it's with how the league is right now, man. They're so talented. You can't. And like the continuity of the teams, of the young teams coming up right now, like it's going to be hard to just build super teams. Like it's not working. I think we're going to start to see that go away a little bit. I think.
Yeah, and we're also getting into the start of the time where like our old stars that we grew up watching, for you, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who stars are gonna stop that. Stars is a little bit of a loose term, but I mean, even then, Kevin Durant, he's got to be 35, 36 now. He's getting old. He's still balling, but he's getting up there in age. We don't know how much more he's got. Like you're starting to see a lot of those young guys, the next generation of stars of Shea, of Anthony Edwards recently. Trying to think of a couple other guys on the top of my head. I mean, Kobe White over in Chicago is doing good, but I wouldn't call him a star yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's like 24, 25. But yeah, I mean, he took off this year for sure. He took the reins from. I mean, Zach LaVine got hurt, but I mean, he looked like the better player when they were both playing, man.
Yeah, but let's talk about the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. I mean, so we already seen the first 2 games. First game, Timberwolves won. I think it was rather close, but I mean, the Timberwolves just defensively they looked like the better team. They looked like they controlled the reins.
Yeah, it's just like you say, like they look like the better team, and it is insane. I do think that this game too. I do wonder if it's if it mattered at all Rudy Gobert not playing today, because now like over a course of time like that, that would go against the T Wolves. But you lose game one, and I mean in a game that the T Wolves are basically controlling the whole game. I mean the Nugs took the lead a couple times, but again, like the T Wolves look like the better team. So then you game plan for 2 days, and I mean your game plan has to be heavy for Rudy Gobert. I mean he's their defensive hub. Everything you are going to try to do, he's going to be in the conversation. So then you just find out, well, he's not playing, and that totally changes what the T Wolves are doing. Now credit to them because they made it work without him, but I just wonder how much that goes into play rather than just saying, oh, they got worked. I mean, it's the playoffs are all about adjustments. So I just wonder what that will do, and if they, apply the strategy that they had ready for game 2 and game 3, what that does.
Well, I mean, so we just wasn't it game 2 last night, or am I tripping?
It was game 2 last night.
Okay, yeah. We saw Minnesota absolutely dominating that game. I think they ended up winning by 26, but at one point they had like a 34-point lead. They were able to do it whatever they wanted, even in the absence of Rudy Gobert.
They suffocated them, man.
I mean, Jamal Murray looked like a shell of himself. I know a lot of people were outraged at the fact that he didn't get ejected for throwing that heat pack out on the court, and then their coach, I can't think of his first name, but Malone. Coach Malone was out there freaking out. Mike Malone, thank you.
Yeah. It's a good thing you brought that up. It actually came out like 10 minutes ago. I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but pretty big for the series. Jamal Murray is not getting suspended.
Okay, I didn't think he would. I mean, I figured the NBA would do some course of action, but if they suspended him in a pivotal game in the playoffs, like it was a scumbag move of just throwing some random shit on the court while people are playing, but don't suspend the guy for that.
He threw a towel earlier, too. Now, the towel didn't make it on the court. Like, he threw 2 things on the court, which, like, what are you doing?
Oh, he was having a little tantrum. It's all right.
Oh, dude,
Isn't this the same guy, though, that gets in trouble all the time for holding pistols and shit?
No, that's John Morant.
No,
fuck. This is
Jamal
I'm gonna say,
Murray.
what do we expect out of the guy? But
that's pretty.
Did just disrespect that guy bad.
He got fined like $100,000, which he should. I mean, like that's crazy. I'm surprised he didn't suspend it, to be honest.
I would have been mad if he did, but I would have understood it. Just because I would rather the integrity of the series. I don't like to see players missing from that. I don't like there to be the excuse of, oh, we would have won if.
Yeah, unless it's like something egregious, like you're throwing punches out there. And
yeah, but I mean, I get it. It was like during the live action of play. Like if, say, I think it was Cat trying to get the layup at the time. If he stepped on that and tripped and got himself injured, that's probably what the NBA side of that's why we got to suspend him type thing will be.
Yeah. Yep.
But thankfully, none of that happened.
I mean, it is dangerous. It is dangerous. Like if a foot lands on that, you can very easily hurt yourself.
Yeah. So what do we think about the outcome of the series? I mean, currently 2-0 Minnesota lead. Now it's going into Minnesota. Like I put down a bet before the series started for Minnesota to win in 7, but I don't think that's happening anymore. I think personally, I have Minnesota in 5.
If Jamal Murray can't be Jamal Murray in this next game, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, if they lose this game, the series is done. I mean, no one has ever came back from down 0-3.
No, and at that point, like the Nuggets would be absolutely just disheveled. Their mindset wouldn't be right. They couldn't come back in that. Their best hope, they have to win game 3, which I believe is tomorrow.
Yes.
And
I mean, Jamal Murray's he's the big one. I mean, he is hurt. He has been banged up, and they don't play till Friday, I believe.
Okay.
So he'll get some rest. That's good. But man, I mean, he's looked like he's been a turd. I mean, that's the simple. Their second best player has been awful, and he doesn't look like he has burst. To be fair to him, he does look like he's hobbled, but he needs to be better for him to win. That's for any team second player. You're not going to win a playoff series if they suck.
Yeah, and I think he needs to get out of the mental headspace. A lot of it too just looked like he wasn't invested in the game. Like he was not in tune with his level of play, and he was just frustrated the entire time.
And I'll give it to the T-Wolves, and this is kind of why I think the series is over. And I kind of do think after seeing those two games that they're going to sweep them. That's insane to me. Like I would have never thought that this would be that either of these teams would have swept each other in the series. But a big thing that the T-Wolves are killing Jokic, man. I mean, they're making them look awful. Offensively with the two bigs. Anytime he's under the bucket, they got one guy on him, and Anthony, all their guards are just destroying him. They're just pulling him out and going around him. He's been an absolute zero on defense.
Yeah, I mean, the T-Wolves, they just seem like they have that good game plan. Defensively, they've been hounding everyone they've played, and then offensively, they've been playing with a tenacity that's just been insane. Like Anthony Edwards, he's been getting all the Michael Jordan comparisons that everyone used to give to Jimmy Butler. Like, he's playing with an absolute instinct of he wants to win. And I think he's pulling and bringing the best out of all of his teammates.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about this series is that as a Thunder fan, it totally scares me of how Ant's looking right now. I mean, I told you, like a couple weeks ago, like.
Yeah, you said he wasn't even a top 20 player, and I told you you're a fucking idiot.
That is not what I said at all. That is not what was said.
We had a witness in that conversation.
I said I didn't think he was a top 10. Did you can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, my AirPods died. I had to switch to different headphones.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, sweet. So that's not what I said. That is not what I said. You asked me if he was a top 10 player, and I said no, I don't think so right now, but he will be. And I was wrong. I was right in saying he will be. I was wrong with the time. I said a couple years. He's looking like he has arrived.
So let's move over to honestly, he's been dogging people out.
Oh my
Let's
God,
move over to the East.
And he looks like a good leader too. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, he's been the absolute ringleader for that Minnesota Timberwolves team. He's been the push they've needed in the last couple of years. But over in the East, we got first let's start with the Knicks and Pacers. I know I didn't really watch any of that game. I know it was close. I personally like the Knicks to win. I think they're up 1-0 currently.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty close game. I like the Pacers. They're young. They're kind of like, they remind me of like a grit and grind kind of team. But I think the Knicks just have the star power and just the ability to take over games. Tell me a little bit more about what you think.
The Pacers are a track team kind of team. I think this season they were like the first ever team to be like top 3 in offense and like bottom 3 in defense or something like that. I mean, I want to back up first with the Knicks, with the Sixers series. That was awesome. That whole series was, I think there's a total point differential of 5 in the favor of the Knicks.
Yeah, I believe every game was like a single point, like single digit differential, except for game 1 where I think the Sixers won by 10 or vice versa.
The Knicks took the first one. I believe.
So Knicks won by 10 in the first one. I think everyone after that was like a 5 or less point difference.
Yeah, but I bring it up to say that I agree. The Knicks are awesome. They're one of my favorite teams in the playoffs right now. Jalen Brunson deserves tons of praise.
Yeah, I feel like he's been gone rather underappreciated until recently. Like, kind of stayed out of the general media of like what you said, praise. Like, I don't think people have been giving him his flowers enough.
Which is crazy because he's in New York. He's in one of the big
big
market teams. Yeah, and one of the biggest. But that just goes to how talented the league is right now. I mean, when you look at guards, you got Shea and Ant breaking out. Donovan Mitchell's, dropping 50 points in the playoffs. It's just so talented right now. But to go on what I think about this series, the game it feels kind of similar to how the Pelicans and OKC series went. I think game one was the Pacers' chance to take it. I mean, I think they're playing a better team, and you need every game you can get. And if you lose a close game like that, it can spiral out of control. And next thing you know, you're down 3-0 playing an elimination game in your crib, and it's not looking good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I have the Knicks taking it 5 or 6. I have the Pacers stealing a game or two. I think it'll be a rather competitive, close scoring series, but the Knicks are just the better team through and through. Pacers are still kind of young on it. I think it'll give them their challenges, but that's about it.
I will say the Pacers did get a little screwed by LeBron. That's the popular take today in the basketball world, is that they got screwed. There was like 40 seconds left. They said the Pacers kicked the ball, and he clearly, hit the ball with his hands. And so they lose a possession there. I think it was either tied or they were up 2. I can't remember. And then there was and then after like 20 seconds left, there was an illegal screen. It was kind of close to the situation was close to what happened in the UConn game, and the girls, UConn and South Carolina game.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'm sorry, not you. What game was that? It was a championship, so it was Iowa.
Okay.
I can't remember what game it was, but it
South
was,
Carolina.
everyone was arguing that it shouldn't have been a foul because it was at the end of the game, and to do an illegal screen at the end of the game is just ridiculous. But I do think this one was ridiculous because he didn't lean into him at all. So they got screwed a little bit, but
yeah, I know there was a lot of controversy too in the Knicks 76ers series. I think it was mostly leaning towards the 76ers though, in their first 2 wins of that.
Well, yeah, that's because Embiid's a flopping bum. He'll just fall down and get a call.
Right.
I'm so glad he's out of the playoffs, man.
I can't stand
He's
one of the players I think me and you both fucking dislike. We don't like his style of play and how much attention he gets.
His shot making is fun, but dude, quit falling down, man. Play basketball. Come on. It's just, I hate players like that, man.
Just shut up and dribble.
Man.
On a side note, this is not a diss, but the way Matt just said "come on" sounds exactly like Sketch. I'm just gonna tell you,
he hates Sketch. He hates Sketch.
I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I will say I've been seeing more. Ever since me and you argued about him that one day, I've been seeing him a lot more on my timeline.
He's growing on you, ain't he?
He's growing on me a little bit. He's growing on me.
Damn right, Sketch grows on everybody.
He's honestly a good guy if you see it, but he's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's what kind of turned me on him. I seen some clips of him being real. I'm like, oh, okay, he seems like a pretty cool dude. I don't know why I'm hating on him.
The last series we got going on is the Cleveland Cavs versus Boston Celtics. Celtics ended up winning in 5. They dominated every game outside of game 2, where the Heat, I think they made a record 23 threes for the franchise, and were able to win.
I wish we could rewind. I wish I had the soundbite saved right now that I could play where you said the Heat would win in 6.
I said 7.
I don't think so.
No, you're right. I think it was 6. I think it was 6. I had them winning both at home, losing one, and then winning another.
This was also after the Heat went and dominated that one game. You were like, yeah, Heat are winning in 6.
Yeah, bro. I was hoping they let it fire. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. After that, we got...
go ahead. I was just saying that the Celtics and Cavs games on right now, and the Cavs have had their moments, but right now Boston's totally controlling the series or the game right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Cleveland, they ended up winning in 7 against Orlando. Won the first two at home, lost the next two in Orlando, won one back at home, lost the next one in Orlando, and then won the final.
Yeah, it was just the home teams winning, man.
Yeah, the entire way through. I was hoping Magic would end up pulling it out, but I mean, for this series, like I don't think Cleveland's gonna win. I think they'll win one or two. Boston's a significantly better team. They were able to handle the Heat. Granted, they were without Jimmy Butler, and like throughout the regular season, they looked like one of the favorites to win it all. Cleveland, who just struggled hard against a very young Orlando Magic team. Granted, they are good, but they're very young without playoff experience. You should not be with the team and roster you have taking that team to 7.
I agree. Part of it was Paulo just exploding, but I do think that the Cavs are a little bit better built for the Celtics. It is weird though that both of their centers are out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I believe Porzingis is out, and I think he was indefinite with a calf injury. Who's out for the Cavs?
Jared Allen.
Okay, do they have a timeline on him, or is he just done?
I haven't seen. He's not done. He has a rib injury. It's day by it's seeing how he feels type of thing. They haven't given a timetable yet. Who knows? They're going to keep that secret in the playoffs.
Yeah, keep that close to them so they can use it.
Yeah, but I think it's tough because I think that the Cavs are a little bit better without Jared Allen and just winning basketball games. Like, I know he's a stat machine. He's a double machine. He'll get you. He'll make it look pretty on the box score, but just him and Mobley. I mean, with Mobley not being able to shoot that well, it just limits so much that you can do on offense. I think it puts so much on Donovan Mitchell's shoulders, and it shrinks the floor. I mean, if you have two big guys out there that can't space the floor in 2024, it's hard, man, especially in the playoffs. It totally limits your options, especially as a Thunder fan. That's what I love about us, is we do not have that at all. So my opinion may be a little biased for that, but I just think centers are falling out,
Yeah, I know me and you disagree a little bit on that because I've always been a big fan of the traditional center that can play great defense and dominate around the rim. But it's definitely, you can't have two of those guys on the same team. You can't have the Twin Towers, what they call them, 2 7-footers that just clog it up and really don't give any space for your next 3 guys to try to shoot the ball. It's me and you talked about it. We love all the players on that Cavs team. I love Darius Garland. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell's a dog. Jared Allen and what's the other 7-footer? It's
Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley, thank you. I keep wanting to say Emoni Bates, but I know that's not right.
Go ahead.
Great players. Individual, I think they would be great. I always thought one of the biggest mistakes Cavs did was bring Donovan Mitchell over because it takes away from Darius Garland's build and how he likes to control the ball and move it down the floor and space it. And then doing the same thing when they picked up Evan Mobley, it's just kind of limited them. Great pickup, great ball player. I think he would do better elsewhere. And I think because of that, the Celtics are just a better gel team.
Mobley would be better elsewhere?
Mobley or Allen, either one.
Allen.
Allen was there first.
Mobley needs to be better, especially for this series. He is the exact prototype that I think is great for today's basketball. Just a huge guy that can play center. He's versatile on the perimeter while also a really good rim defender and can space the floor. Now, his only problem is his offensive side. I'm watching him right now, and there's just so many times where he's even down low, he's on a smaller guy, and it should be a bucket, but he's just weak around the rim and just takes too long to put it up, uncontrolled going up. It's definitely something he's got, because he could be awesome. I remember when he was getting drafted, I wanted the Thunder to get him so bad, but I just don't think he's developing that well, and I do think part of it is Jared Allen there.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like an identity crisis of what the Cleveland Cavaliers want to be as a basketball team. I feel like they're going in every which direction, don't know how they want to go through, and I think that's going to be a big issue. They need to make some moves, the personnel moves and changes in the offseason. But I think in general, I think Celtics win this one. It's going to be a 5 or 6 game series.
Watching this game right now, Derek White's so awesome, dude. So just to switch it over to the Celtics side, he is so good. You said earlier that they were the favorites. They still are the favorites to win the championship.
Yeah, I know me personally, I like the Timberwolves and OKC. I think the winner in the West is going to end up taking it all because Boston comes up short all the time, but I think they'll make it, they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks will give them some issue though in the next round.
They come up short all the time, but like I've told you before, like I think people are too hard on them for coming up short as they have. Like they've been young, but guys, the stars on the team typically don't win until they're 27. Jokic 26 or 27. Jokic was 27. Giannis was 27. LeBron didn't even win until he was like 26 or 27. I don't think Steph Curry did either. Kevin Durant. So I think they're at that the Jays, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are at that age right now. They've taken their scars. They've been in the Eastern Conference Finals almost every year that they've been in the league.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a little bit different if they make it to the finals this year.
Yeah, like I said, I think the Knicks will give them some issue if they both meet up in the next round. But their time has to be due at some point. They're done developing their stars now. They're ready to win.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, that all praise to Boston's leadership and building that team around them and getting all the role players, stars, everything they need to absolutely flourish.
I don't know if you guys are ready, but let's talk about some college football. Yes, it's May. We know. We are a bunch of sickos, and we're going to talk about college football in May. You don't believe we're sickos? Matt lives in Ohio. Who wants to live in Ohio? Look how fast LeBron James got out of Cleveland.
He was there for like 7 years.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you to bring up your facts. Okay? All I know is he didn't want to be there.
11 years is a long time.
He left it twice.
Yeah,
he came back. He came back, though, so he did want to be there.
Just to leave again.
So, just that being said, we're going to talk about some college football games we're excited for. I know we all picked a couple. We'll probably have a lot of overlapping. I tried to get a wide variety. Saying that, I did pick 3 Georgia games, but that's just given their tough schedule. A lot of diversity
right there.
You know what? You can shut the fuck up.
Are you a Georgia fan?
I am not. So I'm an Auburn fan, so all I know is depression. Okay. But my first game that I picked for a college football game I'm excited for is Week 1, Georgia versus Clemson in Atlanta. I think it's a great matchup. Both schools are about 45 minutes from Atlanta, so it's a great venue to have it. I just love the Week 1 matchup. I love when Clemson plays Georgia. I think it's a good test for both teams. One, if you're Clemson, you don't have to feel like you're going to win this game. You could go in knowing Georgia's the favorite, and ultimately you can see what type of season you're going to have based on this game. If you're Georgia, same thing. If you come out and you take care of business and you beat Clemson, it's a great start to your season, especially given that their season this year's a gauntlet. Definitely a must-win game, in my opinion, for Georgia, but Clemson does not need to win this game.
No, and I agree there. Clemson, I don't think they're winning the game. I don't think Clemson's a better team than Georgia. I don't think it being neutral site's going to do anything for them. I just saw yesterday, I think, Dabo Swinney and the transfer portal. I think they got 0 players this year coming in, so he's still refusing to use that thing. And I think they lost like 13 or 14 guys to it.
So, yeah, they still have good players, though. I do understand what you're saying, and I think Clemson's defense is good enough to keep them in the game. Ultimately, it's going to come down to the quarterback, Cade Klubnik, and can he prove to anyone that he deserves to be the quarterback there? You had a whole year last year, kind of mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say week 1 last year was they played Duke. I think it was at Duke, and Duke absolutely fucking smacked them in the face.
Yeah, and it was an interesting game too, though, because Clemson did fumble 3 times in the red zone.
Turnovers killed them.
Yeah. So, I mean, an interesting stat here. I don't know if you guys looked at it, but Hard Rock does have a spread up for Georgia week 1. And this to me was kind of crazy. I understand, in my opinion, Georgia is so much higher than everyone else in football right now. But the fact that they're a 13.5-point favorite for week 1, it's a big number.
I think it's a fair number, though. I mean, Georgia's been the better team, and like even though they keep sending people off to the draft, losing guys in the offseason, they've still held that talent of next man up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, hasn't Clemson kind of been going downhill too? And like what Mike said with the get known in the transfer portal, like you're going to get left behind if you don't use that.
Yeah, they have to get with the times, in my opinion. Like it's 2024. I hate the transfer portal. I absolutely fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But you can't be successful without it now.
The shame with Clemson, though, is, in my opinion, they're just one quarterback and maybe 2 new receivers away from being a great team.
I was going to say, I'm not in love with their offense at all. Their defense
is
is
dominant. Their offensive line's good. Their running backs last year were good. Obviously, they just lost Will Shipley to the draft. But they just need some more offensive targets on the outside and some better quarterback play, and they can easily be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, I think they're competitive, and I don't think even without them using transfer portal, that's not going to change. Dabo Swinney's able to bring in talent, and they have good game plans. They're going to be a competitive team no matter who you are. To get to that next level of being the playoff team or being a playoff contender, they got to get with the times.
Yeah, and I agree. And before we move on to Matt for his first game, just want to let everyone know it is a 12-team playoff. So if you do hear one of us say we think they can make the playoffs, it's 12. Doesn't mean they're going to be in the top 4. Just want to make sure everyone knows that. So that being said, Matt, what game are you excited for this year?
It's not really one game, but I'm very excited to see as a Ohio, in the Big Ten. I'm very excited to see all these West Coast teams in the Big Ten now.
Oh, I do agree. That's a great point. I mean,
I'm very interested to see how that goes.
I'd like to get your take on this. Given that you're an Ohio State fan and the Big Ten probably better than us, I think it's a great year for these West Coast teams to join. Especially Oregon, because Oregon's kind of sitting there as that number 2 team, in my opinion, going into the Big Ten.
And the odds are number 2 as well.
Yeah, I think Penn State's one of those teams that's got to show me something. They're always
I think
around
Penn State's
there.
about to have a bad year.
Could possibly.
Everything I've seen, like they don't offensively, they look like Iowa has.
I mean, I want to agree with you. Given I'm an Auburn fan, you have that terrible spring performance by their quarterback. I mean, I showed you, I know, at work. That was a terrible performance from their quarterback. He was named the starter after the spring game. And their, I believe, number 1 target.
I believe number 1 and 2 both
enters
left
the
in transfer.
So curious to see that. But then also, Michigan, obviously, when you win the national championship and you go undefeated, right?
Yeah, go undefeated, won it all. Jim Harbaugh.
We're going to take a step back. I mean,
yeah, it's hard not to. I mean, they lost their head coach. He's in the NFL now. All the scrutiny they had last year, I think they had like 12 players drafted. They were returning very few players. I still think they'll be one of the better teams in the Big Ten. I know Matt hates and absolutely despises them, but they have to prove that they're still a team.
On this.
Yeah, I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be still probably one of the better Big Ten teams out there. I think they'll be a step behind Ohio State, unfortunately. I would love to see, what is it, 5 years now, 6 years since you beat them?
No, they beat us 2 years in a row, and then they refused to. They chickened out and didn't want to play us the COVID year.
Yeah,
we beat them 6 years in a row, and then they chickened out and didn't want to play us, and then they won 2.
I think it's like 1,400 days.
Oh my God! All right, here we go. Let's get the fuck off this topic.
Yeah, only because again they chickened out and didn't want to play us because they knew what was up, and then they had to go and cheat.
I have a hot Big Ten take here. Would you say, or I'm going to say by the end of the season, the best Big Ten quarterback Dylan
Gabriel.
Gabriel. I don't have faith in Ohio State's quarterback. I'm sorry, Matt, but he leaves.
Was it Will Howard, right?
Yes, he leaves Kansas
Yeah.
State, transfers to Ohio State. If you look into that, there's a chance he was getting beat out by that curly-headed Jew that was behind him.
Who are you to call anyone a Jew?
Well, first off, I'm like 0.5% Jewish, okay? So it does give me the right to say Jewish. But anyway,
Yeah,
what do you think about that, Matt? Because you're an Ohio State fan, but I just think Dylan Gabriel right now is the clear-cut best quarterback in the Big Ten.
I don't think that's a bad take. And I will say I got humbled a little bit last year with fucking Kyle McCord.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I would think that Kyle McCord and C.J. Stroud are a better quarterback than Will Howard. Silence.
Well, C.J. Stroud was 100%. I mean, he was freaking awesome.
Yeah, a collegiate underperformer until the playoff game where he finally had a good actual
Jesus
outing.
Christ. Mike,
Dude,
shut up and
he
let the guy
was
finish.
good. He was good. Michigan just got us. That was literally that's
Yeah, I mean,
CJ
when you only
knock in
play Michigan
college
every
is
year, and
that
that's
he
your only
didn't beat
competitive
Michigan.
game.
So,
Okay.
going off of Matt's take, before we get to you, Mike, and you tell me some of the games you're looking forward to, I'll just go ahead and roll into my second one because it's right into this topic, is Ohio State at Oregon Week 7. I think that very, very well could be the determiner, Jesus Christ, can't talk right now, but could determine the number 1 seed in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that was honestly a game
I
that was on
agree.
my list.
That's the scary one on the schedule this year for sure.
I believe
Yeah.
it's also a week after Ohio State plays Michigan. Because I was looking at the schedule earlier. I know they're pretty close. It's
No.
1 or 2 weeks after
No,
each other.
Ohio State always plays
No.
Michigan last game of the season.
I was like, no way.
Then
no way.
what I was
changed
looking at
that.
was all fucked up then.
But
Yeah,
no,
we
that
played
being
the last
said,
game.
I am kind of curious to see how some of these Big Ten teams, like Ohio State, when they have to go on the road to the West Coast,
Yeah.
how that affects them.
Yeah, that's my big interesting thing about it because road, travel matters in sports a lot, and for them too. Coming to the East Coast, during the winter is going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think it's totally different when you're in the NFL and you're a professional athlete, and all you have to do is think about sports and travel with a
Yeah.
team and go to these West
Yeah,
Coast games. But the fact that you're a full-time student, and you got to jump on a
Yep.
plane and go to go to Oregon rather, have about 1 day to get used to the West Coast time, and then right into a football game. I'm kind of interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, same. I can't wait to see what happens with it. I hope the original Big Ten teams kick the shit out of them. Is what I hope happens.
I think that will happen for everyone except Oregon.
And I mean,
Don't mention Washington. Washington's not going to
Well,
compete.
So when he says original Big Ten teams, if he's talking about Ohio State, Michigan, I'll throw Penn State in
Penn
there.
State, Minnesota, Iowa.
Do you just
Minnesota,
not just
Iowa.
throw
Wyoming.
fucking Minnesota in there?
or
Mike?
sorry, not Wyoming, Wisconsin.
I do think Washington can come in and be a middle of the road team and compete against Iowa and
Oh,
Minnesota.
yeah, they'll be a
and
middle of
teams
the
like
pack,
that.
but that's it.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Like a Iowa versus USC. I don't know if they're on the schedule, but that would be.
That'll be an
fun
interesting matchup, though, when you got a high flying offense first. Let's punt as most times as possible.
game.
Be a real fucking
Yeah.
barn burner. That one will be.
Mike, give us your first game that you're excited for.
So as a Miami Hurricanes fan, I put them up first. Week 1 against the Gators. I've already told everyone I'm trying to bring a group to the game. As a Miami fan, I'm getting seats as close to the Florida student section as fucking possible. I hate the Gators with a passion. They piss me the fuck off every year with their bullshit. They always think they're good. They're not. They're terrible. We're going to go there, and I'm either getting arrested or I'm going to the hospital after that night.
I'm willing to put a wager on this.
Let's go.
So I'm going to take Florida money line,
Stupid.
and I'm going to say that the Gators get it done at home with a false sense of hope, given it is the first game of the season, and it's in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, which I don't think Miami will be ready for. As you saw when I know they're a West Coast team, but you saw Utah come in there and not look like the same team they finished as. So that being said, I will take Florida, and you will take Miami, obviously. if Miami loses, you're going to get on this podcast. We're going to film you. You're going to dress up in a full Gators uniform, and you're going to sing their fight song. And then you're going to say Florida Gators
awesome.
are better than the Miami Hurricanes in every way. And if you win and the Gators lose, I will eat the world's hottest chip and try to do the rest of the podcast without drinking.
I'll gladly take that fucking bet.
Dude, that
The
sounds
Gators
like
are
a
so
win-win
fucking
for both
bad.
sides.
Graham, or was it Graham Mertz? Is that his fucking name?
Yeah, but he
He's-
overperformed.
He didn't overperform. He checked down every fucking thing.
Okay.
He had inflated stats because he fucking sucks, and so does his entire offense.
Okay, so check down his way all the way to 3,000, over 3,000 passing yards.
All the way to what, 5 wins?
That's not his fault.
Dude,
Over
I've
3,000
never
passing
heard
yards.
Mike just talk about a Florida guy without just being very aggressive and say he fucking sucks.
I know. I mean, it's because he's stuck in this 2002 era with fucking Miami, who hasn't been relevant.
No, it's because for some reason every
I
year
agree.
Florida Gator fans think they're going to be competitive, and they're just absolute fucking
Dude.
shit year after year.
No, they're not. They've only been bad the last 3 years. The 4 years ago.
Oh,
they
when the
played in
dude threw the shoe and they complained that's how they lost the game,
They
but they couldn't
played in
kick a
the-
field goal that
no,
LSU
Mike.
scored.
So 2020 COVID year. Was it 2020?
Yeah.
2020? No, 2019, right? Didn't they? Who did LSU beat in the SEC championship game? Well, it was Georgia. So then 2020, Florida makes it with Kyle Trask in a game they should have beat Alabama. Then they have 2021, which is mediocre 8-win season. They fire their coach. They get Napier, and for 2022 and 2023, I don't think it's that bad. Like, they're not in that bad of a spot. Like, they can go out. First off, saying they're going to win 5 games is understandable. They have one of the hardest schedules. So, do I think their coach is going to get fired? Yes. Do I think Florida is a bad program year after year? No. They're one of the biggest programs in the United States.
Trash.
This fucking guy. You can't teach him anything. Matt, do you want to go with do you have any other games you want to talk about?
To be honest, I haven't really dug into college football for this upcoming year, so
No, that's
nothing
understandable.
that I
I
have
mean,
an actual opinion on.
you've got time. I think we got like 4 more months. So.
I can, yeah.
But I'll talk about it a little bit. Speaking about the
Yeah,
Big
that's
Hold on,
Ten.
because I think you're going to steal. Oh, Big Ten?
No, I'm going Big Ten here.
Okay, you got it.
So the new SEC team, in my opinion, the second best team in the SEC this year, I think they're going to shock some people, is you're going to have Texas at Michigan, week 2. I think we're going to, right off the bat, you're going to find out what time or what kind of team Michigan is. What do you think about that matchup, Mike?
I mean, I like it.
I like
I
that.
think at that point, we'll see. Is it, how early is that?
It's week 2.
Okay, so never mind. Yeah, that'll be the good way to see if Michigan is still Michigan or if they're going to go back to pre-2020.
Okay, I'm going to ask both of you right here. What do you think the money line is for that game? Or not money line, I'm sorry. What do you think the spread is for that game?
It's going to be like minus
already
10
have
at
that?
least.
Who?
I'd say minus 10 Texas.
Okay, Mike's on smoking crack. Matt, what do you think?
I'd say like 3.5.
Three and a-
Texas.
Okay.
Actually,
No,
no,
hold on,
they're
don't
Probably, I mean, okay,
don't swerve
okay,
it.
go ahead.
Texas at Michigan week 2. Texas is a 3.5 point favorite, which I think is right where it should be. The only reason it
Okay,
is
nice.
3.5 instead of 10, Mike, is it is in the big house. I'm sure now with CBS being involved in the Big Ten that it won't be at noon. It'll be a crazy environment for Texas and a great test for them in week 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's either when that game comes up, I'm putting money on Texas. It's either going to be a blowout for Texas beating Michigan by 20 plus, or it's going to be an absolute fucking great game,
Well-
and it's going to be close. And it's just depending on what team Michigan is.
So my worry with that game in particular is you watch Texas last season. They played in the Big 12. You know, it was a lot of high-scoring games. They beat the only SEC team they played, Alabama, which kudos for them. It was on the road at Alabama, but I believe it was like 38-35.
it was high scoring.
Still
It
a
was close.
high-scoring game. So if you're Michigan, you got to kind of feel good about that your best part of your team is the defense, for sure. Texas hasn't showed us that they're going to be able to stop a lot of teams in the SEC, which worries me. And so if you're Michigan, maybe you can kind of win a 24-21 game, 21-17, try to keep it low scoring. I think it's the only chance they win. If you let Texas go out there and start letting it up on offense and you have to score in the 30s to win, I think it will be a blowout.
Yeah, and I mean, going on to, like I said, I'm big on Texas this year. The game that I was going to say was Texas versus Georgia, which I think is Team 1 and Team 2 in the SEC, and I think the winner of that will determine, more than likely, the winner of the SEC.
And it's interesting this year because there's no East or West in the SEC.
Right.
So it could be 1v2, and either team can lose and still make and might see each other again.
Yeah.
So I do like that game. Just off the top of my head, Georgia has, in my opinion, the toughest schedule in the nation this year, even though they're the number one team.
I think they have 6 games that are ranked in the top 25,
Well,
5 of them in the top 10.
Well, just right here on my list, you start off your season with Clemson, which for an out-of-conference is probably as high as you can go. It's not their fault. They're a 13.5-point favorite. Georgia's just a very well-oiled machine.
No, and like we said earlier, Clemson's not a pushover.
And then Georgia, you've got week 5. You're at Alabama, which Nick Saban's not there. We get it.
Still
and
bad.
I hate the people that are saying that Alabama's going to be shit. They're still going to be Alabama. I still see them winning 9 games. They're going to be a tough team. You're going into their stadium to, what the fuck's it called? Bryant. I should know this. I'm a goddamn Auburn fan.
I mean, it's your entire life to hate them. You should know
it'll
this.
come to me. I mean, I hate them so much I don't know their fucking stadium. Would never go to that shithole. But anyway, you play them week 5, and it's going to sound bad because you're going to say they're going to blow us out. But the fact that you have to go on the road to Alabama and play a hard, tight game probably, and then turn right around and play your rival, it's just a tough schedule. They don't really have any breaks. And then you go into week 7, which you'll win, and then you have week 8, you're at Texas. So I know Georgia last year, in my opinion, and I know they feel this way for sure, that they shouldn't have been left out.
But last year was just weird, and it was just the epitome of why a 14 playoff is stupid.
It was a great year to prove why the 12-team playoff is needed.
Yeah.
But I just think Georgia, as much as I think they're the best team in the country, they might go into the playoffs with 2 losses. It could be possible. There's a lot of tough games, so I think that is a good game, and maybe you'll see a round 2 in the SEC championship against Texas. It's also an interesting week in Austin. I know that the Formula One Grand Prix is in Texas the same weekend. My brother was pissed off about that as a Georgia fan because
you couldn't get a hotel room anywhere.
The cheapest hotel was like $1,500 a ticket. So I thoroughly expect there to be no Georgia fans at the game. So it's honestly best case scenario if you're a Texas fan. But going into another one of my games I have was Georgia at Alabama. Alabama, loses Nick Saban. That's huge. They lost a lot of players in the transfer portal.
A lot of them came back, though.
They did, but they're still going to be good. They're still going to have great talent. Talent's going to be everywhere across the field. I'm not a big Milroe fan, especially given that the coach that came over runs the air raid. Milroe is not an air raid guy. I think it really hurt them, the fact that he brought his coaching staff over. The offensive coordinator left for the NFL. So I'm curious to see what their offensive scheme is going to be. And it also sucks that you had Will Rogers locked up that transferred to Washington to then transfer into Alabama, who I thought could be a real threat in the air raid, given they also have a great defensive side of the ball. And now he's not there. And, Milroe could have the keys to any offense in the SEC, minus Georgia, but I just don't trust him. And I just think he's going to make mistakes. And in this game, the team with fewer mistakes is going to win. And Georgia, like I said, is like gravity. They just slowly crush you and bring you down until you make a mistake. And they don't make mistakes. So
yeah, I mean, speaking of mistakes, and Georgia.
Oh, here we go. I'm sure this is going at Ohio State.
Wide
playoff
left
game. This fucking guy.
But no, I mean, for Alabama,
hold on.
They're just a big question mark.
They are, but Matt, doesn't this guy like to, he likes to throw shade at you for Ohio State, and I can't remember the last time Miami even played in a New Year's Six game.
Oh, we tell him this all the time. I mean, all of his team sucks, and he just always wants to try to get on other people's teams that are better than his.
When you grow up with a lifelong of depression and misery for all of your sports teams.
That can't be an excuse. I'm an Auburn fan.
It's how he pushes down his own pain.
It brews hatred. And actually, speaking of Auburn, they are the last team on my list. I think absolute barn burner we got for them.
Here we go.
New Mexico.
This is not
fucking Lobos.
First off, you do realize we didn't lose to them last year.
Doesn't matter.
That was New Mexico State.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. This fucking guy. We're going to skip your team. So, yeah, we talked about Georgia, Clemson, Texas, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oregon. And, yeah, that's it. So
Miami, Florida.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that battle of the shits. But it's whose fan base is a bigger asshole. That's what the game is for. That's what's on the trophy. Bigger dickheads.
My shit smells nice.
Okay. Well, Matt, we appreciate you coming on as our guest speaker. Can't wait to have you on. Yeah, for sure. And we can't wait to have you on, the rest of the year, and especially throughout these NBA playoffs. And as college season approaches, I know Mike and I have talked internally, and we're going to go through every conference and kind of give where we think teams are going to fall at the end of the season in their conference. So, we'll bring you in, obviously, for the Big Ten, hear what you have to say. So, well, we appreciate you coming on, and, until next time.
Yep, thanks. So were we going to do bets?
Oh, that's right. Matt, we can't stick Matt around for bets. I like that. Okay. Catch me off guard. So, it's everyone's favorite time of the podcast. It is the betting corner here, sponsored by Hard Rock. Hard Rock, give us a plug. Okay, I lose too much money to you guys for not, at least give me a free room or something for my degenerate gambling. But, Mike, so Matt, I don't know if Mike told you, but we do Hammer, which is like your lock.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard I've been listening to the podcast.
Okay.
I'm familiar with your
Appreciate that. So, obviously, before I get into your bets, Mike, right now, as we stand, how we do it for all the new listeners is we do $100 a bet. So we've done 2 episodes so far. So we have $600 wagered this year. So far, I am at a negative 60% return. I've only earned $240. So I've lost $360 total. Mike over here has wagered $600 as well. He's won $186.96, a negative 69% return.
Okay.
And he's in the red 413. But we're ready to fucking claw our way out. So let's hear it, Mike. Give me your hammer.
All right, so my hammer to start off, I had OKC money line. It's minus 190. I'm sure Matt's probably got something similar, but minus 190 just to win game 1 against Dallas at home.
This is NBA. I'm sorry, I just heard Dallas.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's NBA.
Yeah.
All right, coming back to me, my hammer here. I think the game actually might have started 30 minutes ago, but give me Dallas minus 125 against the frauds, the Colorado Avalanche, who play no defense. So hammer Dallas minus 125 in the NHL playoffs. Matt, who do you have?
I have Jalen Williams is set at 20.5, and I am going to be hammering that tonight and possibly the whole series. Like I said, they don't have much for point of attack defenders. The best guy is going to be on Shea, and that leaves three eating for J-Dub. I think he's going to go crazy.
What are the odds on that one? It's like minus 110?
Yeah, it's even.
Okay.
It's been jumping around even and minus 110.
Okay. Mike, give me your hot take.
My hot take, so unfortunately the game already started. It was the Celtics-Cavs. I had the Celtics at minus 12.5, and it was minus 110. Currently, the game's in the third quarter. Boston is up 71-57.
How convenient.
Yeah, look, it's not my fault.
Are you sure you didn't just pick that right now?
Ask
you
Kevin.
need it.
Ask Kevin.
I'm
He's
going to
got
have
it
to
on
phone
his
a
book.
friend on that. Okay. My hot take. Listen to this shit. So we just talked about how the New York Rangers are absolutely one of the hottest teams in hockey. They're the better seed. Their first 2 games are at home. They're playing Carolina, who's kind of in a slump, had to struggle to get through the first round. Tell me why Vegas decided to put the New York Rangers as plus 100 at their home ice. So that's my hot take. Take New York Rangers plus money here, which I'm pretty surprised. I was going to take them as my lock if they were minus, but hey, who doesn't love plus money? Matt, who do you got?
So sticking on what I know, the Thunder series, I'm looking up the exact odds right now. Yeah, so my hot take would be Thunder in 5. They are plus 450 right now for Thunder in 5. A nice $20 on that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a hit there. So that'd be a big payday. So, Mike, who is your fucking dog?
All right, so my dog, it is. I want to be more risky than this, but I got to claw out.
I like where you're going with this.
Going PGA. I'm going to go back to Wyndham Clark. I want to say top 5, but I feel like, I got to play a little safer. I'm going to go top 10 plus 160 for Wyndham Clark.
I like it. I think it's kind of a guarantee, especially when you think about there's only 69 players in the field. And he's probably – so all he really has to do is beat probably 10 guys to get in the top 20. There's only about 10 guys that he compete with him to that top 10 job. So I like it. On my dog, I am also going golf. However, I'm doing the alternate event, the Myrtle Beach Classic. Give me the hometown native, Brian Bros, shout out on YouTube. Give me Wesley Bryan, top 20. Comes off the second place finish in the Dominican Republic, which he should have won. And I kicked myself because he was plus 20,000. I was like, you know what? I should bet $10 on this guy this week. And then he ends up almost winning the tournament and cost myself 2,000. But thank God he lost. But anyway, take Wesley Bryan, top 20. Very conservative. That's plus 475.
That's good odds.
Yeah, I like it. So let's just hope a good week from the hometown native. Matt, who do you have for your dog?
So my dog won't be for a little bit. You'll have to remember this one.
We'll remember. We'll make sure Twitter knows too.
Write it down. I don't have odds on this yet because we're not there, but I think the Cavs will take their first home game against the Celtics. They're a very good home team, and I think they're going to take one of those.
Yeah, I don't think we can look up specific game 3, so we'll put that as a big TBD. Okay, I'd imagine it'd still be the dogs in that game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to drop the first 2 and then take the third one.
I'm going to guess it's going to be around plus 220.
Okay. So before we go and let Matt go, let's recap real quick our best bets. Just so Mike knows when he loses and he's in the red and he's crying over here what he lost on. I have Hammer, Dallas, minus 125. Hot take, New York Rangers, plus 100. And my dog is Wesley Bryan, top 20 for plus 475. Mike, what do you have?
Moneyline OKC. Currently, I'm minus 190. I had Boston minus 12.5 earlier. I believe that was minus 115. And then my complete dog is Wyndham Clark, top 10. I just swept away from that.
That's fine. I think it was plus 165. It's close enough.
Plus 160.
Yeah. Okay. So, Matt, what do you have for your Hammer, hot take, and dog?
I got my Hammer at which it actually just changed. It is now Jalen Williams over 20.5. It was 21. It moved down a point, so that's looking good. And then my hot take is Thunder in 5 plus 450. And then my dog is TBD on the odds, Cavs in the third game.
In a recap, J-Dub is minus 150 for that over.
Okay. And remember, everyone out there, if you want to support the podcast, if you want to get these bets early and have them sent to you, as well as Mike and I and or a guest speaker, we can hold your question. If you go onto our podcast and click the link, you can support the podcast for $3 a month. You will get our best bets early, so you can either ride with us or swerve us, as well as ask one of us a question we will answer live on air. I know we already said it once, but Matt, until next time, we appreciate you coming on.
Yep. Thanks, man. It was fun.
Yep, for sure.
Fuck Ohio State.
I don't think you got that in before I hung up, but thanks everyone for listening to us today. I know it's our 3rd episode. And hey, in the comments section, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us a comment. Tell us what we can do better. I mean, we're here for the people. We want to present the best possible, material and episode we can for you guys. So we appreciate everyone listening. Tell your friends, spread the word. We're going to the moon. Support us if you'd like. $3 a month is not much, especially if you win on some of these bets. It pays for itself. So until next time, guys, give us a follow on Twitter at SLimitReached. Give us a follow on TikTok at StrokeLimitReached. And follow us on YouTube at StrokeLimitReached. Until next time, peace out.
Yurt.